I think it's trying to get it. We haven't seen it yet, but of course,
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian, Universalist, welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Wherever you are in your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. I'm Twinks Hastings, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education, happy to welcome you to worship with our interim minister, Rev Karn, and our music director, who's trying to sneak by, Kaeza Fern. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. Masks are now optional in worship, although this back right-hand corner is a place where masks remain required. At First Parish, we also welcome and celebrate our children and youth and families and the gifts they bring into our community, along with their noises, movements, and mirth. Please, however, take a moment to silence your cell phone. For those of you who are first-time visitors, welcome. If you would like to learn more about First Parish, please fill out a welcome card found in the back of your pew in front of you and place it in the offertory basket. There's also a handy-dandy leaflet in there that will give you all the information you need to welcome you this morning. Welcome on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together. A big welcome to people streaming. We always wave at them. We're glad you're here too. In announcements, next weekend, our youth are heading to Boston for a UU History, Spiritual Practice, and OWL retreat. Recently, the UUA made a bold and brave decision to house immigrant families in our headquarters, and as part of our trip, we will be taking supplies for the children there, namely diapers and baby clothes. If you would like to contribute these products or a cash donation, they can be dropped in the office until Friday. And then on May 5th, the CYM community invites anyone who would like to be part of the Brewster in Bloom Parade to join us after the service. The parade leaves from Stony Brook School at 1 p.m., so we will muster at 12:30 in the parking lot there. We hope you can join us. And after worship today, the town of Brewster are hosting a question and answer session about the proposed Sea Camps development after the service. All members, but particularly those who are residents of Brewster, are invited to attend. And now Karen has an announcement.
As you know, last week I spoke about environmental issues. Today I'm speaking about environmental issues. I have found this to be such an arresting kind of engagement this year with the environment and climate crisis that I feel very strongly about taking this on as a spiritual discipline, both in reflection and action. And after the service, if any of you would like to join with me, I'll have a sign-up sheet, and I'd love to have a year of really committing to this work with more than just myself.
Welcome to worship. It is so good to be together.
Whenever life gets you down, Mrs. Brown, and things seem hard or tough, and people are silly, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel that you've had quite enough, just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. It's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned that sun that is the source of all its power. Now the sun and you and me and all the stars that we can see are moving at 1,000,000 miles a day. In the outer spiral arm at 40,000 miles an hour of a galaxy we call the Milky Way. The Milky Way. Our galaxy contains 100 billion stars. It's 100,000 light years to side to side. It bulges in the middle, 16,000 light years thick, but out by us it's just 3,000 light years wide. We're 30,000 light years from galactic central point. We go round every 200 million years. And this galaxy is only one of millions of billions in this amazing and expanding universe. Expanding universe. Itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz, as fast as it can go at the speed of light, 1200 million miles a minute, and that's the fastest speed there is. So remember, when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazingly unlikely is your birth, and pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, because we're struggling along down here on Earth. Yes, pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, because we're struggling along down here on Earth.
Good morning. I have a friend, Bob, who went through a really terrible divorce, and he was like in a custody battle for about 2 years, and it ended up that in the end he barely got to see his children, and he moved to a different town, and he just was not in a good place. He told me that after that he used to have a dream where he was in a hole, like a dark pit, and that he could look up and see light above him, but he couldn't figure out how to get out of the pit. He also told me that he ended up drinking more than he should have, and he started isolating and withdrawing from everybody around him. Then one day in March, they got a big snowstorm, and Bob decided to, shovel out his car because he couldn't get to work in Boston, and shovel out his car, and he grabbed his cross-country skis, and he went to the local park. And he said he put his skis on, and he's going through this meadow area, and he gets to where this marsh is that's kind of steamy. You know how like when it snows and it steams a little bit? And he said he was just exhausted, and he puts his arms out like this with his poles, and he's watching this marsh as the sun starts setting. And then this chickadee lands on his arm and starts facing the sun with him. And he said he was freaking out by this bird on his arm. And then another one landed, and another one landed. And he said in about 2 minutes he had 8 birds on his arm, and then one landed on his head. He said he stood there for 10 minutes, and he swears that that experience brought him back to life. For me, that's always a good reminder that the earth indeed does save us. So it's worth saving it so it can continue to save us as well. Welcome to our celebration of life. It's so good to be with all of you. Would you please rise in body or in spirit and greet your neighbor this morning. Hello, neighbor.
Hello, neighbor.
Let's turn to the Teal Hymnal 1074, and we'll sing our opening song, Turn the World Around. This has a lot of repeats in it, and if you're in the choir, when we get to the third page, so when we get to the third page, this is 1074 in your Teal Hymnal. It's a long song. It's a really awesome song. So everybody's going to sing, Do You Know Who I Am, the top line, all the way from 3 to 4. And then the congregation, you do a repeat there. But if you're in the choir, I want you to sing, the second time through, I want you to sing the second line where it says down below, Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who you are? If you're in the choir, on page 3, second time around, you're singing the bottom line. I can tell by all the chatter that you know just what I'm talking about.
I'm going to invite Benji up to light our chalice. As frozen earth holds the determined seed, this sacred space holds our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and the hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together. Let us worship together. Please join me in our unison affirmation. We believe in love. Love is the doctrine of this church. We believe in truth. The quest for truth is the sacrament. We believe in helping others. And service is our prayer. We believe in the sacredness of life. To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thank you. So this morning I'm going to tell you a story that happened in a church. A white church that sat kind of on a hill, had lots of daffodils outside, and some beautiful big windows. And this story happened maybe 15 years ago. And in this church, there was a group of amazing children who would come every Sunday. And one of those children learned about the earth and about animals and became a vegan and really cared about our world. And what that child noticed was, in this big white church that sat on the hill with lots of daffodils in the garden, that there were some windows in the back above the balcony where flies would get caught. And often on a Sunday morning, there'd be a lot of dead flies there because they had been caught. And so this child decided that his job at church, how he was going to serve, was to be the fly catcher, because he didn't want the flies to die in our windows. So every week he'd come in here and he'd catch all of the alive flies and let them out the door. And some people thought it was a little bit strange. Like, why on earth would you spend so much time and so much love saving flies? And so I asked him, what is it about the flies? And does anyone know what flies do for our world? Because I sure didn't 15 years ago. I do now. Any guesses? Yeah, they eat bugs, they pollinate plants, they eat like trash that gets stuck in our sewers, who knew? They help with decomposition? Yeah, that one. And they play such a vital role in our world. And he said to me, that's somewhat why I save these flies. But he also said, don't we learn at church that everybody is important and everyone is beautiful and everyone is special? So why would we let 20 or 30 special people die every week in our church? So that is my story of Jeremy and the flies. And I'm going to invite Willa up to light our lantern as we take your love downstairs. Let's sing our children downstairs.
This is that time in our service where we offer heartfelt gratitude to organizations in our community that do good work that are in alignment with our own values. This morning's offering is a split plate with Brewster Pond Coalition. The mission of the Brewster Pond Coalition is to protect and improve the health of Brewster's ponds through science, education, and advocacy. Their work includes citizen science initiatives, neighborhood outreach, pond remediation, water quality monitoring, as well as children and adult education programming. Let's be reminded that the religious person is the grateful person, and the grateful person is the generous person. Let's take the offering mindfully and gratefully.
The world is changing all ride. Yeah, I know you think twice. And love, it takes you on a ride and leaves you with no respite. Well, I think I've done my time, but I don't want to cry. So take me where the bluebirds sing while we lose everything. There's too much poisoning. And fly me where the birds still fly, 'cause smoke fills up our sky, 'cause we ran out of time. Oh well, we tried. Maybe this was meant to be. Our mother wanted peace, and we would not concede. Or maybe we were meant to win, but not enough good drowned out the sin. They watched the world cave in, but I can't work out why. So take me where the bluebirds sing while we lose everything. There's too much poisoning. And fly me where the birds still fly, 'cause smoke fills up our sky, 'cause we ran out of time. Oh well, we tried, 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 we tried. Oh well, we tried.
I invite you to join with me in the spirit of meditation, followed by some shared silence. Please get comfortable in your seat and take a deep breath in with me. And let us turn inward together. I share this piece from Teresa Soto. I wish the knowledge were easier to come by, that individualism is just a scam, that you are always the butterfly wings, you are always a flap of the storm. Edward Lorenz, a weather scientist from MIT, is sometimes misquoted on this as the premise that the butterfly wing can cause a hurricane in a different part of the world. He proposed that should we make even a tiny alteration to nature, we will never know what would have happened if we had not disturbed it, since consequent changes are too complex and entangled. The lying lie that you do not matter, that whatever change you can organize is so insufficient as to not be worth your time, your energy, your life force. You must be willing to dream a dream that carries forward your community. This is how we rise. This day is polluted with a mistrust of truth, fertile and warm medium for unchecked cruelty and power. You must choose to scream the truth until every leaf and stone bears unrepented witness to what happens when you try to cage and smash, to pin and frame a butterfly and their thousands and thousands of fabulous, flamboyant friends. May the silence we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen. Two readings to share with you this morning. The first one is by the naturalist Wendell Berry, a farmer, a poet. It's a little crass, so I'm giving you a heads up. We Americans are not usually thought to be a submissive people, but of course we are. Why else would we allow our country to be destroyed? Why else would we be rewarding its destroyers? Why else would we all, by proxies we have given to greedy corporations and corrupt politicians, be participating in its destruction? Most of us are still too sane to piss in our own cistern, but we allow others to do so, and we reward them for it. We reward them so well, in fact, that those who piss in our cistern are wealthier than the rest of us. How do we submit? By not being radical enough, or by not being thorough enough, which is the same thing. Second reading comes from Greta Thunberg, the young woman who sat in front of the Swedish parliament until they would make some action on kind of climate mitigation. She was Time Magazine's Person of the Year. sat in front of that Parliament building all of the time. She was mostly 15 years old. Here's what she said. Adults keep saying we owe it to the young people to give them hope. But I don't want your hope. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as if your house is on fire, because it is. Here ends this morning's readings. Out of all the things I've read and listened to with podcasts and reading over the last couple of weeks regarding the environment, these words have kind of stuck in my head. It's up to us to decide how much suffering people will have. Never before have thoughts on climate change stabbed me in the heart like this one. It is up to us to decide how much suffering people will have. Those words actually came from an unlikely environmentalist, though he's not really an environmentalist. I'm talking about David Wallace Wells, who wrote the book, The Uninhabitable Earth. He has always lived in cities. He doesn't hike or camp or really spend time outside. He's kind of an urban guy who started doing a lot of research around climate change and got scared out of his pants and basically is now a modern-day Chicken Little. Though, well, we should all be Chicken Littles, because the sky is falling. Here's some of the things that David Wallace Wells pointed out to me, and I realized this can sound fatalistic, and that I am going to depress the bejesus out of all of you. So please just hold on to your pew a little bit and take some deep breaths and hang in there with me, okay? Okay? I want to start first with the idea that the climate change is happening slowly, that by 2100, climate change will be catastrophic if we don't address it. Which frankly makes it feel like, 75 years away, whatever. But here's the thing. The impacts are actually happening a lot faster than 2100. By 2050, 25 years from now, it's estimated that many of the biggest cities in South Asia and the Middle East will be almost literally unlivable in the summer heat. We are talking about cities, not one city, but cities with 10 to 15 million people living there. And you wouldn't be able to walk around outside those cities in the summer without risking heat stroke or possible death. I read that and the words came back to me. It is up to us to decide how much suffering people will have. The planet is now 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was before industrialization. That doesn't really sound like a lot, but it actually puts us entirely outside of the window of temperatures that encompass all of human history. And hold on to your seat, because this one, half of all the emissions ever produced from burning fossil fuels were produced in just the last 30 years. Half. That's right? We've done more damage since the early 1900s than all the centuries and millenniums before us, and now we are faced with, the sky is falling. We're on the brink of catastrophe. And someone the other day, we were talking about how, you can say to your parents, has it always felt like the world's going to hell in a handbasket? I remember asking my dad that. He was like, yeah. But this is like a hell in a handbasket we don't get out of. Am I right? We all know this in our bones. because extreme weather is like this awesome teacher. I lived in Florida for 2 years. My ex-chair of the board is right here in church today, who I love dearly. Anyway, when I was in Florida, we had 4 hurricanes, and I lived in a trailer, and then all these hurricanes came, and they were quite terrifying. And then also these tornadoes would come up all the time. So you had a tornado warning going at the same time that you had a hurricane hitting. We may or may not know this, but do you know about the 500-year storm theory? It's based on the idea that a hurricane of the largest magnitude would hit a particular area once every 5 centuries. But now, with the damage that we've done, we live in a world where Hurricane Harvey, which devastated Houston, was the 3rd 500-year storm to hit that city in 3 years. Not 5 centuries, 3 years. We also know that California's fire season keeps getting longer every year. Further, 10 of the largest California wildfires have occurred in the last 20 years, 5 of which occurred in 2020. The fires in Canada last summer burned more than 42 million acres. That's actually the size of all of Florida. And by mid-September, more acres were burned in 2023 than any in the past 40 years. We had days on our farm in upstate New York last year where we really limited when we brought the dog out because there was so much haze from the fires coming down that we had to close all the windows and just stay inside. New York City had a couple of days of complete orange haze around it, and they had public health warnings to stay inside if you can, work remotely. There is so much more I could share, but I don't want to get you so depressed that I have to scrape you off the floor at the end of this sermon. Instead, I do want you, though, to listen to the words from David Wallace Wells himself. He says this: "It is a simple fact that the main driver of global warming is human action, how much carbon we put into the atmosphere. Our hands are those levers, and we can write the story of the planet's climate future ourselves. Not just can, but we are. Since inaction is a kind of action, we'll be writing that story ourselves, whether we like it or not. It's the kind of story we used to recognize only in mythology and theology. A single generation has brought the future of humanity into doubt, is now tasked with securing a new future." He goes on to say that that's both bad news and good news, because though we've caused terrifyingly large changes, these changes are also a reflection of how much power we actually have over the climate. So yeah, we are the authors of humanity's future. That's a tall order. It's intimidating words, it seems to me. And after reading all of this, though, for the last couple of weeks, I was really kind of in this terrible state and super depressed, and actually we were putting in geothermal on our farm at the same time, and I still was like on the floor and needed someone to scrape me up. But then that unlikely environmentalist said, "It is up to us to decide how much suffering people will have." And that line there, it motivated me in a new way. I've always heard comments regarding climate change as we will suffer for it if we don't change, or the earth will suffer if we don't change, but not it is up to us to decide how much suffering people will have. That's not a passive account of something happening to us or to the earth, or even thoughts of surviving global warming. Instead, it's a directive of sorts. It is up to us to decide how much suffering people will have. It's an obligation, a spiritual obligation in my mind, because it gives me agency. It's a moral imperative, if you will. So as I said, it's got me thinking that maybe all my frameworks are wrong, actually. And with that, I was motivated in a whole new way to engage in the fight against the climate crisis because of the last couple of weeks, I've started noticing it all over the place. People out there thinking about things in a different way, kind of turning thoughts on their head. And in so doing, they've brought energy and motivation back to me. And today I want to lift them up as a way to perhaps reanimate you as well and awaken a new motivation to you too. The first awakening or new lens is I have for years gone with that conventional wisdom of most environmentalists who have said that by sharing the scary stuff, you risk scaring the public into apathy. That fear scares people in place. In fact, University of California's got this whole ongoing YouTube pieces, and one of them was talking about that, which honestly has made kind of sense to me. But it got me stuck, and my ear got turned by this author who said the opposite, actually, that fear is the only thing that unfreezes us. He believes alarm is helpful. I think we forget, as he points out, Rachel Carson, when she published Silent Spring, was called hyperbolic and alarmist, but the book led to the ban of DDT and the beginning of the EPA. So in effect, alarm is, helpful. It's motivating. We didn't get into World War II out of hope. We got there because of panic. Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the movement against nuclear proliferation wouldn't have happened without talking honestly about fear and alarmism. If you want to motivate someone to stop smoking, right, you don't just tell them, you might want to think about not doing that. Do you remember those ads that they had that were out that showed people actually withering away, barely able to breathe? That motivated people. When you tell them that they will have emphysema, early death, heart disease, or stroke. He put it this way: when the science is alarming, then it's only responsible to alarm people to it. It doesn't take hyperbole. It just takes a straightforward presentation of the facts, which are terrifying. So yeah, let's awaken to being true talking chicken littles. And perhaps let's start calling it a climate change, because actually it's a climate crisis. It's a climate emergency. It's a climate breakdown. Calling a spade is in order, it seems to me. So let's move from fear freezes people in place to fear is the only thing that unfreezes people instead. My second awakening. Do you remember that Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax? Yeah. And the little fellow who walks around and he's condemning the business owner, the Onceler, right, for exploiting the environment for commerce. He's often found as saying, I speak for the trees. Speaking for the trees has kind of been our dictum for years, and yet it doesn't always get us that far. That is until the rights to nature movement has gained momentum, which is what? Well, the rights to nature movement grew out of a theory from this attorney that he proposed. He wrote this brief that some people say nature shouldn't have rights because nature doesn't have its own voice, but he contended that in and of itself is a wrong-headed approach. He wrote, corporations cannot speak for themselves either, nor can states or an estate, infants, incompetents, municipalities, or universities, and yet these entities are aptly represented in our legal system. Some would argue overly so in the courts. Since that Law Review article, throughout the world, more and more groups are trying to have an animal, a lake, a mountain, a river speak for themselves and sue either the government or a corporation. These legal efforts have been varying degrees of success, but in 2008, Ecuador was the first country to recognize the rights of nature, and it's referred to by Ecuadorians as the rights of Mother Earth. Since then, though, grizzly bears have gained a legal right to a healthy ecosystem. Salmon in Washington state also have a considerable right now, and Costa Rican pollinators, trees, and native plants are considered citizens. As one attorney commented, transforming our relationship with nature requires fundamental legal changes, which also require a cultural change. Let us remember that it was in recognition of rights for both women and enslaved people alike that there was enough of a shift in attitude that people came together to demand change. I was so excited by this idea this week, and it's motivated me to look into every opportunity we can to support the application of this legal recourse, to give nature a voice, a fighting chance, because friends, we've tried to speak for the trees for a long time, and now I think it's time we help the trees speak for themselves. My final awakening is relatively simple, but it's needed. I loved Al Gore's movie, An Inconvenient Truth. I talked about it last week, right? That came out almost 20 years ago. And I spoke about it last week and pointed out that primarily it addressed individual change, right? At the end of that movie. But I found that wanting. As if we could save the planet if we just changed our light bulbs or became vegan or made our house an Energy Star house or drove an electric car, which in the end is all well and good. It is. We should do these things so that our values are in alignment with our actions, and yes, we should be early adopters. But the problem is our individual changes are not at all the majority of the problem. In fact, the U.S. carbon footprint is only 15% of the world's carbon output, and it's dropping. In truth, individual changes, I read this, and add up to a couple of seconds of carbon reduction per individual per lifetime. Ouch. Couple of seconds of carbon reduction in your lifetime. That's it. So in some ways, that's how badly, you guys, we got sucker punched 20 years ago, thinking it would be incumbent upon individual behavior to fix this problem. Which makes sense, right? We are often looked at as consumers first. The issue I have with that is we are and should think of ourselves as citizens first. Lifestyle changes as the means to stop climate catastrophe is off base. The reality is we can't stop there. We need to move from consumers to citizens and then hold corporations and politicians accountable. The changes that need to take place in the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years need to be policy changes on the local and state and national level. And the only way to make that happen is to behave like our lives depend on it, because actually they do. They really do. We need to vote the right people into office, and then we need to hold their feet to the fire to make this a priority. As one author asked, are politicians talking about grid-scale energy storage, electrofuels, nuclear fusion, and zero-carbon cement and steel? If not, they're not helping us get to the path of zero emissions by 2050. Friends, we need to return the railroads and utilities and energy grid back to public control. Regulate corporations to phase out fossil fuels, raise taxes for massive investment in climate-ready infrastructure and renewable energy so that solar panels can go on everyone's rooftop, not just those who can afford it. And that's just a modicum of what needs to happen. But it's a start. David Bauer said it best, politicians are like weather vanes. Our job is to make the wind blow. So let's be blowers of a mighty wind, my friends. In the end, may these awakenings open our hearts and minds. May we move from worrying that fear freezes people in place, and understand that fear is the only thing that unfreezes people to action. May we move from speaking for the trees to help the trees speak for themselves, and may we move from being consumers to citizens first. Then let's act with those in mind with politicians and corporations. Let us live into and act on our highest hope and be the seeds the world and the planet and its people need most. And perhaps we can be, as Wendell Berry pointed out in the first reading, finally be radical enough to step into both this opportunity and challenge, because we have in our head all the time, how much suffering do we want to have for other people's lives? Let us be wise in our actions and in our thoughts. May it be so. Amen.
We invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing a closing song together that's on the back of your order of service. today. It's called We Are the Earth. I'm going to teach you how the chorus goes. It's the part that's indented over to the right. So sing after me. And we will not be bought. Go ahead. And we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. Yeah, let's sing that chorus through. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. And you can also join me for the first part of the verses, and then you'll just catch on and sing along with me for the whole thing. It goes, we are the earth, at the very, very beginning of the verses. Here we go. We are the earth, we speak for creation. We cannot stand by and watch its devastation. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are the earth of threatened sky and waters, our sacred legacy to our sons and daughters. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are the earth, and we shall speak as one. Will not surrender the great glaciers to the sun. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are the earth, the forest, soil, and ocean, and we will stand in our defense and devotion. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are the earth, wounded but unbroken, and we will rise when to power truth is spoken. And we will not be brought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are the earth, diverse and yet united, and we will keep on until the wrongs are righted. And we will not be bought, we will not be deceived. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth. We are one, we are strong, we are the earth.
Would you please join hands for the closing words? Whatever we can do, or dream we can do, let us begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. May we ever be bold in our living and in our loving. Can I hear an amen? Amen. Amen.